For the beginning, can you introduce yourself?
I'm Roman Pastuschka. I'm from Erfurt, and I work there at Radio Frei. It's a community radio and free radio, non-commercial, and I'm working there in media education for young people and in projects for participation of all participants and some who come to Erfurt and are not citizens.
My name is Uli Oeckang. I'm working as a so-called community radio in Erfurt. It's a city in Germany. It's called Radio Frei. And since 2012 I'm working there in the field of media education and media literacy with especially kids and youth. And for the last 13 years I'm also doing a radio show there in my free time volunteering.
This exchange project, it's the third time we are in Bosnia with this project, with you and with Onabih and Obaha and so on, but this time with you, and it's the first time to connect with Serbia too. And in this project the young people have to exchange their minds about rights, about their freedom in their countries, and about the process, how it's going on, what are they working for their freedom, for the rights, and what is the fight to, maybe.
And from there on we had exchanges between youth who are involved in any NGOs or initiatives dealing with human rights education and media. And this year we opened our exchange to a third country. We also had a group of young people from Serbia, which was really cool because yeah, that's why it got more diverse, more international. And we had our first meeting in Erfurt in September last year, in September 2018. And there we were dealing with the past and also with the history and how and where there were some, how to say, challenges in the German history.
So my name is Valentina, I'm coming from Novi Sad, and currently I'm working for City Novi Sad European Youth Capital, and I'm leading the international cooperation for the City Novi Sad European Youth Capital for 2019. It was very interesting how we actually started with this project, and it was, you know, the connections with my friends from Bosnia and Herzegovina. They called me 3 years ago and asked me, Vale, we did some previous exchanges and we had a good cooperation. Would you be fine to be our partner with the organization Radio Frei from Germany to be our partner on the project? And I said, okay, what's about, etc. And we apply for this project to Europeans for Peace, and that's how actually everything started. 2 years ago we've been to Germany. We spent 10 days there. We talked about history and memory, and we create our radio show for their radio station. And year after we've been in Novi Sad, and here we are now in Sarajevo, and I'm happy that we really succeed to have the same participants in 2 years and to close the circle in that way.
to work together with the youth theatre. It was very nice to see how Valentina worked with the young people to these topics, and they had, I think it's more an intervention and public intervention than an act. They had to do. There were 3 groups, and every group had to do 5 pictures to one topic, and the topic was discrimination. And it was so interesting and amazing to see how young people think about these problems, and the associations of the young people to show their minds. It was very, I guess it went to the heart.
I was really excited because I was thinking about how it would, what would happen if we would have done this in Erfurt. And sometimes I think that people are not, I mean, they see these kind of interaction or interruption in the public space, but they do not react in any way of this. That's why I was really excited how the people in Novi Sad will react or respond to this interruption. And I was really surprised that so many people were really like, they were watching at the performances. They were even clapping and cheering up when they when it stopped and when they ended it. It was a really strong moment. I remember the old man who came to us and was telling us that he's so proud and that he's so thankful that, and I mean, this was really, it was really a strong performance.
But first, to explain that we had the workshops where we talked about the human rights and discrimination. Then the participants had the opportunity to interview youth from Novi Sad, and from their answers we create topics for the performance. It's very important to provocate people because my personal opinion that you are educating yourself going to the theater, watching the theater shows, etc. But people don't go to theater so much. The performance, flash mob, and these kind of methods to tackle people, to provoke them, to make them think, to send a strong message, are the best way nowadays, maybe to make people think about some other about some very important topic such as human rights and discrimination and violation of the human rights in the local community.
I don't know what version we on. Name mnemonic for this instead of doing it. They just 11, 12, 13, 14 or something like that. Because trying to keep up with all these incremental updates and point this and point that, sometimes it's like, I don't know what version we are.
So I can put in my CV that I stopped the traffic in the city center of Sarajevo, and I'm very proud of it because it was a good cause. Yeah, we had a performance in Sarajevo. We stopped the traffic jam. We went live, and we got the opportunity that all people who are watching the TV to see what we've done, and to send them a message that we are just all humans and that we really need first to be informed about our rights and what are our responsibilities as citizens in one local community.
In Sarajevo, for me it's the best time every time here, because Sarajevo is a big city, but it's also small because we know you and you know each other, and that's very important for us. And so we visited some NGOs to have interviews about LGBTQAYX topics.
Hello, I'm a participant of youth exchange between Serbia, Bosnia and Germany, and we have interviewed one LGBT activist who didn't want to be filmed, so now I want to tell their story.
How did her organization start?
Well, historically there has been the first LGBT organization in Bosnia in 2001, and they were working until 2011, and then they stopped with their work, and this person and the friends, they wanted to continue with that work, and they found their own organization.
What have been their recent activities?
In their beginnings, they mostly did direct actions like graffitis, and they were like a grassroots organization. And the biggest problem is that most NGOs cannot work for their ideals because of differences. So they work like slaves, lobbying for money. And still later, they started their own projects, and they were making like safe spaces for the persons, the LGBT persons, educational work, even educating some psychologists, and of course a lot of political activities.
Another part of their work might be the archive field work. Can you tell something about this?
Yes, 1 year ago they made an archive that is consisting of 3 parts: personal stories, of which they made an exhibition about. Second one is the regional timeline that everybody could edit, and they made a documentary with 17 LGBT persons. That they interviewed 17 LGBT persons that they were active since 1970s up to today.
Did they tell you anything about how secure they feel, secured by the police as LGBT activists?
Well, they said that in general they think that the police doesn't protect anyone. Actually, for instance, they had to pay extra money for the protection of the police. So they were the first one that stood up against it, and they fought for it. And now they and the other NGOs, they don't have to pay extra money for the protection of the police.
Mm-hmm. Have they mentioned any positive hopes they have about the future?
Yes, actually, the person that we interviewed said that they would like to have positive hopes, but they don't.
How did they use media?
They said that the media in this country is not independent, so they think that the population should found their own media. For instance, they made their own portal on the internet where they're spreading their word and their work. What are they doing?
I think this is important for the German youth as well as for the Bosnian and Serbian youth, because sometimes I have the feeling or the impression that young people do not know where they can go, where they can empower themselves, where are initiatives, groups, NGOs, where they can be active and change something or what. And on the one hand, it's quite important also for the youth here in Bosnia and Serbia that they know organizations like this RICO organization. And on the other hand, also for the German youth, it's quite important that they know that in countries like Bosnia and Serbia, which they do not have in their mind, but in their everyday life, that they can see, okay, here are also young, active people who are willing to do something, who are thinking in a global way, and yeah, that's why I think it's really important for both of them.
SHL was formed during the war here in Balkans, where German students wanted to do something for their peers in Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Serbia, Montenegro, and so on. Mm-hmm. Later on, SHL started organizing the activity called Social Day in Germany, where actually we fundraise most of the money for our activities. And currently we have offices in Berlin and in Sarajevo, with the project supported not just in Balkans but also in Jordan for Syrian refugees.
Okay. What's the motivation that forces SHL to make the community in Bosnia better?
It is actually the basic line that started with SHL is that everybody is talking about the problems, let's do something about the problems. So that's motivation that led young people to form SHL in the very beginning, so it's something that we keep up even these days. We want to do something for the people on the field.
What are the most important projects and what has SHL successfully accomplished this far?
There are several aspects where SHL actually made real visible impact in the society, especially in Bosnia and Herzegovina. For example, we can name the success achieved with part of SHL was doing with the youth media when Youth Press Association was formed. Also the part where SHL was doing things with the school student councils. Then the Association of Secondary School Students of Bosnia and Herzegovina, ASUBIH, was formed. We also have different other programs that are engaging a lot of young people who are making the difference on the field, such as Fund for Youth Projects, where thousands of young people have received financial support for their ideas, also mentorship support. So basically, maybe those are just 3 points to show of SHL success.
Okay. How did you fight against 2 schools under one roof? Is the situation getting any better?
Actually, the fighting the idea of the concept of 2 schools under one roof is actually fighting the segregation of whole educational system in Bosnia and Herzegovina, which is divided in 3 political narratives. SHL has done a lot of things, a lot of positive things in connecting the people attending the schools, 2 schools under one roof, actually having them working together and cooperating together. But maybe the most catchy example of what we have done is shown in our documentary video about 2 schools under one roof, which is available also on the YouTube with the German and English subtitles, so basically everybody can see it.
Okay,
and the situation is not really getting any better. If we consider Jajce as a successful story, then it's actually just stagnating, but it's nothing is happening to solve the problem, because it is not just a problem of 2 schools under one roof, 50 plus examples around the country. It is actually very deep problem of segregation in whole educational system in Bosnia and Herzegovina, not just in those 50 schools, but in every other school where people are not being, they don't have a possibility to fulfill their cultural rights, educational rights, or so on.
Okay, and the final question: who and how can join the SHL and make a change?
We have different programs here in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and also people can join SHL in Germany, since the project is also in Germany. In Germany, it is easiest way to join the SHL is participating in the Soziale Tag, the action, also taking part in some other fundraising activities held in Germany around cities. Basically, most of the information can be found on SHL Germany website. And here in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we have different programs where young people can engage. For example, they can apply for the seminars, they can apply for school exchange programs in Germany, I mean to go with their schools from Germany, from Bosnia to Germany, and host their peers here. They can also take part in Asubih and Onaubih, which is actually the indirect way to engage with SHL, and they can apply also for fundings within Fund for Youth projects here in Bosnia and Herzegovina, where they can have their ideas supported by SHL.
It's important to see different perspectives and how the organizations in Sarajevo doing the same job, but on different approach. And it's important to have the perspective of how what is the status and what is the current situation in Bosnia and Herzegovina regarding the human rights, and how citizens and young people are fighting against discrimination, how they are involved in the community life, in decision-making process, and what are their possibilities here to be active, to be proactive in the community, and to be positive changers in the community.
My name is Nedim Krajšnik. I work for Center for Educational Initiatives, and step by step does the hardcore of education work in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and that means that we work with a lot of teachers, a lot of educational authorities, and basically whatever is connected to the education.
What are the negative main aspects of education in Bosnia and Herzegovina relative to the human rights inclusion?
This whole country is actually has problem with human rights. So education, it's not something that is different than the other issues that we have ongoing in this country. Education is such a complex thing, not just in Bosnia but all over the world, and you cannot point at one thing in education and say that's the problem. Everything in Bosnia in education is problem, including people who do not respect human rights, the policies that are actually not connected or not in line with the human rights, and everything what comes after you don't respect everyone's human rights, and that comes discrimination, segregation, and whatever.
And in which way do you want to change the education system?
I would say on different levels. There are different audiences that we targeting. Some of the major of them are the teachers, that we want to have a professional network of teachers and people who works professionally in education to empower them to advocate for themselves and advocate for their profession. That's one thing. Other thing, it's larger public that we want to not just convince people that education is important. Education, of course, is important, but also to somehow inspire and motivate people to take bigger role in education. So there is an old sentence that says you need whole village to raise one child. So this is Bosnia and Herzegovina as a community have to be responsible for the education in total. That means that each of us have to go into school, try to help in their own way. Is it in material way? Is it in other resources like helping them, showing kids something or teach them something? But larger support, because there is no alternative for education. Everything else have alternative, education do not.
Okay. I don't know if it's nearly the same, but what kind of strategy did you use to overcome the obstacles in the education system?
Like everything else in education, education does not know for the reform. Like for the something that is happening, okay, this is educational reform, maybe we're gonna do that. No, education is in constant reform, and it needs constant alliance and constant customizing the strategies. So if we see the phenomena in an education system, we are trying to have a custom strategy for that. Sometimes it's talk with the politicians. Sometimes it's a huge pressure of people who have interest and benefit in education. Sometimes it's that we stand in our professional role and say that's wrong, and this is how we should do it. So I don't have universal strategy. I think every phenomenon needs custom strategy, and that's also one of the greater problem, because international community have a big role in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and they are deciding what strategies are, not local and grassroots organization. We know the context of Balkans and Bosnia and Herzegovina, and if you ask us, many activities in Bosnia are wrong, totally, with the wrong strategy. So we are trying to have custom, natural grassroots activities and strategies that we use in step by step.
And how's the feedback of government and the teachers about your work?
Again, if you want to have feedback in education, you need to wait for a generation. So we cannot have feedback tomorrow or day after tomorrow. We have to, all our activities and reforms and different agendas that we have education have to wait for a long time to see the benefits of it. It's always monitoring and customizing the things. But I don't see that, not just our governments all over the world have major interest in education. So if you have an interest in education, then all of your resources and all of your passion is going to be in education. But it's not a case here in Bosnia, not either in Germany, not either in US. So education is a powerful tool. You have millions of kids all over the world in one place, and you teach them and set them what you want. It's also not ideologically neutral. It's always somehow colored with ideology. So it depends if government or the system wants different feedback or something that you want from your kids, you teach them and use different strategies to do that. So it's a really powerful tool that can be used on both sides, evil and good. And we, as a catalyst somehow for the change in Bosnia and Herzegovina, trying to pursue that all of the activities and passion and energy goes in the right direction, on the bright side of the moon.
So now I have just 2 points left. Conference 2018. What is meant with this?
That's rock and roll of step by step. That's the only place in this region in Balkans that collects passionate people in education for a couple of days. This is totally other dimension. These 4 days are actually meant to be to empower those innovative teachers, those amazing teachers, to go back in their community and again try to do best of them in the next year. But this is like power bank for the teachers in the region. So 300 amazing people are here for the four days to discuss, to exchange, to enlighten good practices and so on and so on.
It's not a phrase, but really after so many, after people in our sector are always talking about mobility of young people and sharing the knowledges, experience, etc. But it's not a phrase, it's really needed, especially for the young people in Western Balkan. We still don't have equal and the same opportunities as young people from EU. We still don't have, it's expensive for them to travel, to go to visit another city, to explore themselves, to take something from that city, to visit new cultures, broaden their horizons, etc. It's not still equal, let's say, and available for all young people. It's very important. It's important to have the opportunity to raise your voice, to think with your head, to say what you want, to be what you want, to live the life that you want to live, and to be equal member of the local community because you deserve it. And on this kind of the events, of this kind of the exchanges, we are talking about that. We are gathering young people, we are giving them opportunity to share their experiences, to learn something new, to raise some important issues and topic to talk about that, but also to develop their competences and their skills for their future.